From Asia News Weekly, this is Asia Now. I'm Steve Miller. Today on Asia Now, I talk with CAPTCHA and DuoLingo founder Luis von Ahn. Welcome to Asia Now. Obsessive, hardworking, and nerdy are words that can be used to describe today's guest, Luis von Ahn. The one thing he's not is strict. Now, if you've never heard the name before and are wondering just exactly who he is, well, let's have him share his story.
I grew up and went to school up until high school in Guatemala. Then I went to college in the United States at Duke University. I got a degree in math, and then I got a PhD in computer science at Carnegie Mellon University. So CAPTCHA, what led to that development is that Yahoo had a huge problem in the year 2000, and the guy who at the time was the chief scientist of Yahoo was giving a talk at Carnegie Mellon University, where I was a PhD student, and this talk had several problems that Yahoo had that they didn't know how to solve, and one of them was that people were creating millions of accounts, just free email accounts, in order to send spam from them. And they didn't know how to stop people from doing that. And that was the problem. And then for a while I was thinking about it, along with my, at the time, PhD advisor, Manuel Blum. And together we came up with the solution that is making a test that can distinguish humans from computers, which is what CAPTCHAs are.
Right. It's probably also one of the most frustrating things you can do online. I know I spend several minutes sometimes trying to decipher exactly what is on the screen. Yeah,
they can be frustrating. The reason they're frustrating is because they have to be difficult enough that computers can't read them. So they can be frustrating. I'm sorry about that.
But I assume that since it is kind of one of the more frustrating things on the internet, that when you're walking down the street and I say the name Luis von Ahn, people don't know who you are. So it's nice to have a certain degree of anonymity associated with this project.
Yeah, I think once people realize what the reason for the CAPTCHAs is, they understand it. I mean, it's the same as the reason for having doors, locks and doors. They're kind of annoying that you have to carry keys with you, but there's a good reason for them.
That is true. And it's not just entering text. It also has a secondary purpose as well.
Yeah, so that was something that was that came a little later. The idea is that so these CAPTCHAs used distorted characters are used all over the internet. And at some point I realized that approximately 200 million times a day somebody types them. This happens 200 million times a day. And at first I was feeling quite proud of myself because I thought, look at the impact that my work has had. But then I started feeling bad because not only are they annoying, they also take about 10 seconds of your time. And if you multiply 10 seconds by 200 million, you get that humanity as a whole is wasting about 500,000 hours every day typing these annoying CAPTCHAs. So I started thinking if there's any way in which we can make good use of this time. Because the thing is, during those 10 seconds while you're typing a CAPTCHA, your brain is doing something the computers cannot yet do. So the question was, can we do something useful with that? And the answer is yes. And so what many people don't know, but what is happening now is that while you type a CAPTCHA, not only are you authenticating yourself as a human, that's the idea, the original idea of a CAPTCHA, that you're proving that you're a human, but you're also helping to digitize books. And the way that works is that humans are typing the words that the computers cannot recognize in the book digitization process. So, for example, Google is digitizing books. There's many projects trying to digitize books, and the way it works is you start with a book and then you scan it. Now, scanning a book is like taking a digital photograph of every page of the book. It gives you an image of all the words in each page. The next step is that the computer needs to be able to decipher all of these words in these pictures. But for older books where the computer cannot recognize, where the ink has faded, the computer cannot recognize many of these words. So what we're doing now is we're taking all the words that the computer cannot recognize and we're getting people to read them for us while they type CAPTCHAs on the internet. So these words that you're typing are actually words that are coming directly from books that are being digitized that the computer could not recognize. So you're by typing CAPTCHAs, you're helping to digitize books.
And that's something that's really amazing. I remember when I first learned that, my attitude towards CAPTCHA completely changed as a complete 180. And while I still don't enjoy sometimes squinting and trying to decipher the CAPTCHA code, I do feel better about entering it now.
Yeah, that's a common occurrence where when people find this out, they feel much better about it.
Now, as much as people sometimes don't enjoy, say, entering CAPTCHA codes at the time it involves with that, the reaction towards your other project, DuoLingo, is almost the opposite.
Yeah, so this is my new project, DuoLingo. I've been working on it for about 3.5 years. And yeah, people really love it. I mean, the idea with DuoLingo is that it's a completely free way to learn languages. We launched it about 2 years ago, and by now it's the most popular way to learn languages in the world. For example, in the United States, there are more people learning a language on DuoLingo than there are learning a language in the entire U.S. public school system. It's a website and also an app, and Apple chose it as the iPhone app of the year last year. And it's usually just because people really love how the site and website, site and app teach you languages.
Yeah, it's actually quite easy to use. It's a lot of fun. There's a certainly language game aspect of the app itself that I personally really do enjoy. Now, you were just here in Seoul at the Seoul Design Forum, and you're about to launch Korean with DuoLingo. Yes.
So in fact, tomorrow we are going to launch Learning English from Korean. This is the third Asian language that we launched, the third Asian market. So about 2 weeks ago, we launched Learning English from Chinese and Learning English from Japanese. So we're pretty excited about it. And hopefully it'll grow. In most every country that we launch, DuoLingo becomes the #1 education app on both iPhones and Android phones pretty quickly. So hopefully that will happen.
Well, one of the criticisms here in Korea is that a lot of money is being spent on English education with very little results. Do you think that an application like this will improve that?
Yeah, we're hoping. So that, part of the reason we created DuoLingo was to really be able to have a free way to learn languages. We think that the majority of people that are learning a language in the world are actually of low socioeconomic conditions. And so we want to give equal access to language education to everybody. And I think having a free app that is also proven to be effective can help, not spend so much money on that.
Do you see a future for other crowdsource-based educational products in the future?
Yeah, possibly. I think we're going to try to do other types of education at some point in the future. Right now it's really mostly language learning. But I think we're going to try to do other types of education. And the reason for that is because we think that education is going to change over the next 20 years because of technology. And one key change is that we're going to see more and more education be delivered through mobile phones. There are about 2 billion people in the world that don't have access to very good education, but they do have or will soon have access to mobile phones. So I think a lot of education is going to be delivered through mobile phones, and that's what we want to bank on at DuoLingo.
Now, with CAPTCHA, there's, of course, the dual aspect of it where you're helping to translate OCR data. Is there another aspect to the DuoLingo program?
Yes, that's the same. It's a similar idea. The thing, we started DuoLingo because we wanted to make a free way to learn languages. That's what we wanted to do. But if it's totally free and we're never charging the users, then how do we finance the whole situation? And the way we decided to finance it is by having kind of a secondary purpose of the effort that people are spending while they're learning languages. And the idea is that as you learn a language on DuoLingo, when you learn a new concept, so maybe you learn the concept of food, where you learn how to order in a restaurant or all the names of all the different foods. Once you learn a new concept, we tell you, hey, if you want to practice what you just learned, here's a real-world document that is related to what you just learned, maybe related to food, that you can help us translate. We use what you do to practice as a translation for for real-world documents. So, for example, CNN is one of our clients, where everything they write in English, they send it to us, and then our students, in order to practice their language, are translating the English CNN into their native languages, and then we send the translations back to CNN, and they pay us for the translations. So it's basically one of those win-win situations where as people are learning, they're also, helping to translate stuff.
I'd like to thank Luis von Ahn for joining me today. For more information on DuoLingo, you can head on over to their website. That's duolingo.com. Their application is also available in both the iTunes Store and the Google App Store. For more stories from the Asia-Pacific region, connect with us on Facebook and Twitter. Just go to facebook.com/Asia News Weekly or follow @Asia News Weekly on Twitter. For Asia Now, I'm Steve Miller. Asia Now is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License.